Okay, this is this, and I was meaning to do this review for a while. But the main reason why it took me so long was mainly because if you guys look in my YouTube page and search for Stargate Universe and just read the comments and the reviews on those on the Stargate Universe videos, they were not that great. Basically, a lot of death threats. But anyways, this is a review basically and mainly focusing on the Defiance TV show, not the video game. There's a little bit of the video game here, but mainly it's over the Siy-Fy show. But first, I got to get the video game part out of the way, and kind of the bitch I have about it. And when you hear my complaint about this, it kind of makes sense, and it should make sense to everybody. But my main gripe with the Defiance video game, and I'm just going to say this outright, and yes, I haven't played the game, but like I said, this will make sense, is that with the next gen consoles coming out by the end of this year, which, they'll probably be well into the second season, and Defiance, the video game, is out for PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. And the problem is that the PS4 and whatever the hell they're going to name the next Xbox is coming out by the end of this year. And they're going to probably lose out a shitload on the next gen gaming console unless they plan on reopening the Defiance game for the other consoles. And to make matters worse, because I was personally hoping that they would at least concentrate on the PC version, knowing that the console version wasn't going to be hanging around it for very long. And what they ended up doing was, in the PC version, all they did was just export the console version into the PC, and that's even worse. And a lot of people have been complaining about those controls. And so it seems that they're really hoping that the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 720 is going to stay around. Yeah, probably it'll stay around until like third or fourth season, if there is a third or fourth season within the Defiance TV show. But after that, they're fucked. The console versions will no longer be playable and no longer be viable, and it'll have just only the PC versions unless they, upgrade to the newer next gen consoles. And Bungie has already fixed this because Bungie is releasing their next game, Destiny, for PS4, the new Xbox, the PS3, and the Xbox 360. So they're future proofing. And basically, my biggest complaint is that the Defiance video game has no future proofing. None. But yet, Bungie's game, Destiny, has future proofing to it. And that's my main real concern. And it seems that Siy-Fy seems to think the PS3 and 360 are going to stay around forever, and that the PS4 and the next Xbox is just going to go away and disappear. Or they're probably in the same band of camp, in that same band of camp people who all believe that iOS is going to take over everything inside your living room, and that you're going to get rid of all your electronics, your television, your DVD player, your computer, and replace it with just your iPhone. And I find that completely stupid. Oh, and gaming consoles, will get rid of that and just have everything done on your iPhone. And the only reason why that's being spread around like wildfire is because of the dumbass Michael Patcher won't stop. And yes, he actually literally keeps saying it. And being someone who likes the iOS personally, I don't think that's going to happen. And I think Michael Patcher is lost his fucking mind. But okay, on to the TV show. The Defiance TV show. What do I think about it? It's okay. And yeah, I'm going to say this for the first time. With all the other sci-fi shows that I've been putting up there, I've been saying they've been utter crap or just outright dismissive. I mean, when I put up the review of Alcatraz, I pretty much said what it was. Well, the show was good, the characters were good, but the premise was just holding back the show, and that's what killed the show because everything was all centered around Alcatraz, and it just died after that. And the complete obvious failure of Alcatraz was just there. And at least with the Defiance TV show, you have an scalability of you're able to just freely make up whatever story, and you don't have to keep it all clogged down in the center event. Kind of, a little bit, but it's not as just boggled down to just one single thing like Alcatraz was, because that whole aliens coming down and humans having to deal with the aliens, that's global. That's something big. That's something all over. Instead of just being forced down to one spot. And there's nothing like, oh, when we collect all the aliens, what do we do next? It's nothing like that. I mean, the Defiance video game is nothing more than a third-person shooter, and it's just in the Defiance TV show, they sorry about that. But anyways, they're nothing more than just basically aliens and humans trying to cope with each other on what's left of Earth after these terraforming things just came down and just went all crazy after some sort of event that was probably started by either the humans or the aliens. And most likely, most of the fingers are being pointed at the humans, which is a first. Earth is halfway destroyed from an alien invasion because something the humans did, not the aliens. And that's kind of a new and interesting approach to this. Eh. Then the aliens, the reason why they came to Earth was that they thought that Earth was uninhabited, and about 1,000 years ago. And if you do check, there was a period in Earth's history where it was covered in a giant snowball, and it did look like there was no life whatsoever. But they got in their ships, and the reason why they did was, their sun was exploding, and they were desperate to find a new home, and they came to Earth and found a whole bunch of humans, didn't know what to do, and clusterfuck happens. And now all 8 races have to get used to each other until, space travel is somehow optional. I don't call it like an apocalyptic show because the main character pulled out like this little handheld device and had it count down on the season premiere, which basically means that he bought that device from somewhere. And they said that most major cities, which means that there are still some. I think New York is still standing in the show. I mean, they're in San Francisco, which is oddly enough close to where I live. Not exactly close, but I live in Missouri. And yes, the game is set in San Francisco, by the way, if anybody wants to know that useless tidbit of information. But I find the show's premises interesting. The characters are not that bad. The show is somewhat solid with some slapstick kind of idiocy that was on there that plagued the old Battlestar Galactica TV show. Not the old Battlestar, I meant the new Battlestar Galactica TV show. But the new Battlestar, picked up with just its hard-based drama and its science fiction. I still find it hard to. This isn't a apocalyptic world. If there are still some major cities still roaming around, and of course the war between the aliens and the humans ended mainly because of the defiant few or whatever. The stories are somewhat solid. They're there at least, not just slapped on or like happily ever after. And by the way, if you want a better TV show that better incorporates, that whole fairy tale like storylines in an almost horror or darker tone, watch Grimm. That's a better show. Happily Ever After is not that good, in my honest opinion, and neither is Revolution. In fact, in my opinion, Defiance is 10 times more better than Revolution. And I still don't know why everybody keeps watching Revolution. There's just nothing there. It's just the characters are kind of dumb, and they even break their own rules in their own in real life physics. But I'll continue to watch Defiance. It's an okay show. It's not exactly the perfect show, but it's watchable. It's much more better than half the sci-fi that's on right now, or the other sci-fi shows. Except as well, and next to the other really great sci-fi, which is Grimm and Supernatural. I did like Fringe, but the thing about Fringe is that they're done. They're no longer making shows for Fringe, so it's pretty much done and over with. Which was sad because I liked Fringe. Never did a review on it, but Fringe was a really great show, and I know that people hated the last two seasons of Fringe, but I was fine with it. But hey, to each its own. But Defiance is slowly getting up there with Supernatural and Grimm. And as far as I'm concerned, the rest of the sci-fi genre is this dying breed on television where science fiction just isn't really what it's up to, what it used to be back when we had Babylon 5 and Deep Space 9, which was and as well as X-Files, which was the premium of sci-fi moments. I mean, yeah, and it just isn't there anymore. And I'm sorry, we're just not going to have that moment. And I mean, I still miss the moments when when I was watching Babylon 5 and Deep Space 9 and the X Files all in a row, and I was like, wow, this is the best experience I've ever had. But now, science fiction. I mean, it got up there with Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis and the new Battlestar Galactica, but now science fiction just is just falling down on its ass and just having this really hard time getting back up. Defiance is a good start. It's a much more better start than half the other sci-fi that's on TV right now. So yeah, Grimm, um, Supernatural, and of course Defiance, the TV show, is really the only really last reference to just decent sci-fi, but you know, not nothing really groundbreaking. But I'm at least happy to report that Defiance is a lot more better on the TV show on the Sci-Fi Channel. The game, however, from what I've been hearing, is subpar. But I don't really care about the game. I'm reviewing the TV show. I do have my valid complaints against the Defiance game, and you've heard it, no future proofing. I don't know why. But yeah, sit down, enjoy Defiance, mix it with Grimm and some Supernatural, and at least have some good, and then have a good laugh with Warehouse 13 at least. But that's really all that's really left of the sci-fi genre. It's just slowly dying a painful fucking death. See ya.